Hello, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're looking at an absolutely mind-bending development in computational mechanics. We're talking about using deep learning to predict the complex behavior of elasto-plastic woven composites. We're going to break down the heavy engineering physics, the mean field modeling, and the cutting-edge transfer learning that actually makes this possible. So let's jump right in. Our entire analysis today is grounded strictly in this fascinating research published in the European Journal of Mechanics, A Solids. We'll be unpacking the exact methodology developed by researchers Esongane, Martin Fagerstrom, and Mohsen Mirkalov, specifically looking at how they successfully built an RNN surrogate model using LSTMs, GRUs, and transfer learning. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap. First, the computational modeling bottleneck. Then, generating the training data. Designing the RNN surrogate, transfer learning for sparsity, validation and efficiency results, and finally, the future of materials modeling. Section 1. The computational modeling bottleneck, balancing fidelity and speed. So, to really understand the solution here, we first have to look at the core challenge. Modeling woven composites is notoriously tricky, mostly because of their intricately interlaced yarns. Engineers face a really harsh trade-off. On one hand, you have high-fidelity full-field micromechanical models. These give you stunning accuracy, but they are incredibly slow and computationally expensive. It's kind of like trying to render a blockbuster movie frame by microscopic frame. On the flip side, we have mean field homogenization models. These are lightning fast because they look at average stress and strain, but, they sacrifice that high-resolution fidelity and accuracy.
And this brilliantly illustrates that exact compromise. If you look at this graph, the solid black line is our fast mean field model, compared against those high-fidelity models during a shear cycle. Does it miss some microscopic bumps? Sure, but it provides a massive 12-fold computational speedup. And since this research needs literal oceans of training data to teach a neural network, that speed makes the mean field model the absolute perfect, efficient engine for data generation.
Section 2. Generating the training data. Building the foundation. A neural network is only as smart as its training data, right? To build a rock-solid foundation, the researchers generated 10,000 unique material samples. They used a really clever quasi-random technique called Sobel sequence sampling. Now, you might be wondering, why not just use truly random sampling? Well, standard random sampling leaves clumps and gaps in your data. The Sobel sequence guarantees a perfectly even spread across all 9 dimensions of our feature space. We're talking everything from the elasticity of the reinforcement fibers to the J2 plasticity, which is the yielding behavior of the matrix phase. But here's the thing. Static properties are only half the battle. The model actually has to learn how the material behaves under stress over time. So, they split the data into 2 tasks. First up, the source task data. This is 28,000 samples of erratic, random walk loading paths. It provides a dense, chaotic history of multiaxial strain. Then we have the target task data, which is 10,000 samples of smooth, conventional, cyclic loading. Keep a close eye on this target data because it features high feature sparsity, which is going to be a massive hurdle for us later on. Section 3. Designing the RNN surrogate, GRUs and LSTMs. Because this material's behavior depends entirely on its past history of deformation, your standard feed-forward neural networks just won't cut it. Looking at this schematic, you can literally trace how arbitrary 6-dimensional strain histories flow straight into the core of the network, right into the memory states of LSTM and GRU layers. These layers have internal feedback loops. That allows them to literally remember the material's past states and temporal dependencies before outputting the predicted stress tensor on the right side. Finding the perfect brain for this operation was absolutely grueling. It required an exhaustive grid search, testing over 220 different configurations. They relentlessly tuned hyperparameters, learning rate, mini-batch sizes, applying L2 regularization and dropout rates, all to keep the network from just memorizing the data instead of actually learning the underlying physics. The ultimate winner? A total powerhouse architecture. 3 layers of 512 long short-term memory units coupled with a 50% dropout rate. Section 4. Transfer learning for sparsity, rescuing the network. Now, despite having that robust architecture, the network initially hit a total brick wall when tackling the cyclic loading data. And the culprit? Feature sparsity. Imagine a pure shear loading scenario. Out of 6 possible ways the material could be strained, only 1 is actually happening. That means the other 5 inputs are exactly 0. When a newly initialized neural network sees a sea of zeros like that, it essentially goes blind. It can't capture patterns, and it just completely fails to learn. Let's move to and see how this builds, because this is where they rescued the network. The researchers deployed a brilliant 3-step transfer learning strategy. Step 1, pre-train the network on that dense, chaotic, random walk data we talked about earlier. Step 2, take that fully trained network, which now actually understands the complex math of elasto-plasticity, and transfer its brain, preserving those physics-guided weights. Step 3, carefully fine-tune this initialized model using only the sparse cyclic loading data. Section 5, validation and efficiency results, the breakthrough. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the visual proof. Look at figure 8 here. The solid red line represents the ground truth computed by the mean field simulation, while the dashed black lines are the neural network's predictions on completely unseen test samples. The overlap is simply remarkable. The fine-tuned LSTM network effortlessly captures the complex stress histories, successfully bridging the gap between traditional physics simulation and data-driven prediction. But the ultimate boss battle was predicting the target task, cyclic loading, as shown in figure 10. When the researchers tried training models exclusively on cyclic loads, the models failed completely. They fell into a trap called negative transfer. However, our transferred model, armed with the physical intuition it learned from the random walk data, tackled the cyclic data flawlessly. It completely sidestepped the feature sparsity hurdle. Beyond just accuracy, we absolutely have to talk about efficiency. And the magic number here is 800. So the crucial point is this. The original mean field simulation requires anywhere from 18 to 60 seconds just to compute a single 3D loading response. But the fine-tuned LSTM neural network, it takes less than 1 single second to compute that exact same response for 800 random test sets. It is a staggering, massive computational upgrade. Section 6, Future of Materials Modeling, Expanding the Horizon. While these efficiency and accuracy results are a major leap forward, we have to stay grounded. The researchers remain incredibly objective about the limitations in the road ahead. They openly acknowledge that this surrogate is currently limited by the lower fidelity mean field data it was trained on. It also doesn't yet account for complex failure mechanisms or the random stochastic uncertainty we see in real-world composites. So the next frontier, feeding this exact transfer learning framework with higher fidelity, full field data, and robust uncertainty models. Which leaves us with a massive what-if. As we generate richer datasets, maybe even plugging in direct experimental data and failure mechanics, how might this ability to transfer physical intuition between neural networks completely redefine the absolute limits of computational mechanics? It's pretty exciting to think about. The incredible research we explore today was conducted by the Mechanics and Physics of Materials group, which you can learn more about by visiting materialslab.org. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I hope it helped clarify the incredible potential of deep learning when applied to the physical world. Catch you next time.